So Alabama took it on the chin Saturday against Kentucky, so we thought maybe a little bit more football recruiting talk.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel here in just a bit. Jimmy, it's been a minute since we've done this podcast because we have swapped over from Megaphone to Simplecast or Simplecast or something. Anyway, let's hope it works because I'm going to try and put it out a little bit later on today, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But, Jimmy, I thought we'd start with some football recruiting talk because we do want to talk basketball, but it was not pretty on Saturday, and I'm going to save that for the end. Some people may want to skip that. Don't skip it, but you may want to. So, Jimmy, football recruiting-wise, man, there have been a lot of updates. You guys over at On3 are doing a fantastic job with it. It never stops. It just never stops. Caleb Cunningham, still very high on Alabama. This is a 5-star wide receiver. You know, it feels like Caleb Cunningham is who we probably should focus on as fans versus Jamie French at this point, right?
Yeah, I don't know what Alabama's real shot at either one of them is, frankly. I think so. They're so high profile. I think these days with NIL, whenever you're talking about true 5-stars, and Jamie French and Caleb Cunningham, I'm not exactly sure where they're ranked right now. It's too early to focus on rankings anyway. But I do think both Jamie French and Caleb Cunningham are serious contenders to be 5-star players in this cycle. And 5 stars, you're talking about gets a little pricey, and would either one of them be in a discount type of mood to sign with Alabama? I don't know. I mean, that's what we find out. I do think, we've talked about this quite a bit. I think Kalen DeBoer and his staff are going to be a little more aggressive NIL-wise than the Saban staff was because they have to be to recruit the very best players in the country. So we'll see. I would say Alabama's got a slightly better chance at French for this one reason. He's tight with Ryan. I mean, they're buddies. They're pals. So for that, in that sense, now on the other hand, Caleb Cunningham's a little more local. I mean, Jamie French a little further away in Jacksonville, Florida, whereas Caleb's a Mississippi guy, a little closer. That said, Jamie French, they say, likes Ohio State a lot. We're a heck of a lot closer to Jamie French than Ohio State is. So, man, those will be two interesting recruitments to watch, to say the least. And then we'll see what Alabama can find in state. I'm a big Derek Smith fan from South Side and Selma. He's probably not quite the 5-star that those other two are, but Derek Smith is a very good prospect, and I think Alabama has a great shot with him. He could be a nice add to this group. We're still figuring out, who the best players are. But you're right, Luke. You said earlier about how, it never stops. And this time of the year, we're a week. We're going to start spring practice next week.
We're
right now, they're in all day long. Coaches are working long hours right now because they're preparing the schedule for all of the 15 spring practices in terms of what they're doing period to period. And in their downtime, and there is no downtime, but in their downtime, they're working on recruiting, which this time of year means evaluation. They're evaluating 25 and 26 kids on tape and preparing a track that they'll make in the spring evaluation period, which coaches go and where and what schools and what days. They got to do all that and then figure out the travel. I don't know how many people have thought through what that entails, but when you have 10 coaches on the road that are trying to see probably 50 players apiece in different high schools over a 30-day period, and you've only got 1 or 2 planes, and everyone else has to use either commercial flights or rental cars, someone has to be back in the Mount Moore building doing the logistics. And that's totally over my head. I think people go to college and major in logistics, right? So they can work for UPS or FedEx, in terms of Amazon, in terms of how to get the packages here and there and be on schedule. Same exact thing happens in that football building during the spring evaluation period.
So, all right, well, let's get back to French and Cunningham here for a second. Who do you like better?
French. But
I'm with you.
Well, but I love the question because it's fun. I love stuff like that. It's kind of like asking which wide receiver do you like best in this draft, Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison or Rome Odunze. There's no wrong answer. That's kind of what that question is to me. Caleb Cunningham is absolutely no consolation prize. I prefer French just based on this. When I watch Jamie French's tape, he makes me think of Ryan Williams.
When I watch his tape, I get more Jerry Jeudy.
Well, I like it.
I do. I mean, just
Florida.
the stop and go, the sort of the unnatural movements he has. Like I mean, if any normal human being tried some of the stop and go stuff Jerry Jeudy did, their ACLs and MCLs would just be like, "We'll see you later. We're done. We're done with you forever. No amount of surgery will fix this." But he's got this, this sort of a rubber band man thing going on. Now, I think Ryan Williams has some of that too, but I think Ryan Williams is like an amalgam of all, Waddle and Devontae and Ruggs and Jeudy, all of them. I mean, he's like the whole batch mixed together. In fact, I would say maybe he's more Amari Cooper.
Isn't it crazy that today Ryan Williams, just a standard, we're recording this on a Monday in late February, that he woke up this morning and went to high school, and he's just Saraland High School today. And I just find that crazy. He really is like the most high profile non-quarterback we've signed in a long time, where it's like he's like the second most famous player on the team behind Milroe, and he goes to Saraland High School. That cracks me up.
It is true. And, you do wonder, like, this is one of those things where you wonder if there are people that are in the locker room that are a little bit offended by that. But, I mean, frankly, I would go so far as to say this, that he's the second most person associated with the team behind Milroe, and then maybe Kalen DeBoer. I mean that sincerely.
No, he might be. I think an incredible number of people in the state of Alabama know who he is. And by that, to me, that's the measure of someone's fame.
Yeah.
Someone's fame is not, are you an Alabama football fan? Do you know who Ryan Williams is? That means he's only famous to Alabama football fans.
Right.
But I think Ryan Williams is well known to all football fans, Auburn, anybody in Alabama that says they are a fan of football knows who Ryan Williams is. But the true measure of fame, do people who don't identify themselves as fans of football, do they know who Ryan is? Probably not. But the fact that some do means he's really famous.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
I use golf all the time. Most of the top 100 golfers in the world, you could bump into them at Walmart and you'd have no idea that they're famous. It's because they're not famous. They're only famous in the golf world. But they're not,
and they look like us.
And they look like us. They hit the ball a little further. But but football's obviously a more universal thing, particularly in the U.S.
We're going to keep the recruiting talk going as soon as I tell you about FanDuel. You know what you want to do? You want to get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book. Because right now, I'm talking about right this minute, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's just give it here. Here's money. We don't want it. We want to give it to you. That's $150 if your bet wins. That's crazy talk. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams. You got quick bets and you got live same game parlays. You got all these exclusive props on the players and on the teams. That's what's so cool. You can combine some stuff. It's so neat. And much, 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 much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, all one word, and shoot your shot. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. So, Jimmy, keeping recruiting talk going, the visitor list is coming out, and Andrew Bone has done a great job keeping up with this. On March 4th, which will be coming up. Boy, that'll be like
this week,
next Monday.
I think it is next Monday,
or next Sunday, something like that. Anyway, we've got Marcus Garcia coming in. Then March
Sunday.
6th, which is during the week, you got Caleb Cunningham and Duke Johnson coming in. Duke Johnson is a top 100 athlete from Eastman, Georgia. March 8th is a big weekend. And this is great because March 8th is also, I think, the final day for Alabama basketball. So they'll have the Arkansas game at home then. They're going to have Juju Lewis, Noah McHale, a linebacker from California, Travis Smith, another wide receiver that a lot of people seem to love right now. He's really a hot name, top 100 wide receiver in Atlanta. Nashawn Montgomery, another top 100 wide receiver from Florida, and Zadrius Rainey Sale, linebacker from Washington. Boy, look at where all these guys are from: Georgia, Maryland, Florida, Kansas, Washington, California. My gosh. So that's going to be a big
What was the name of the company that was the Step Brothers? Something Prestige.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what was that?
God, man, Prestige International?
Yeah, Prestige International, maybe.
Prestige International. Wow, it just made me think
about
our brand.
This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I want people out there just to – my son, who's going to be 14 on March 5th, he came to me the other day and said, Dad, I sort of want to see the movie Blazing Saddles. And I said, I want you to see it. And he's like, Mom won't let me watch it.
It's a strange announcement to make.
I know it is. But he said, Mom won't let me watch it. And
so I got to go to Dad.
I said, you can watch it with me next time you're down here. And I mean, what do you guys think? Is that age appropriate? I mean, like Blazing Saddles, you couldn't possibly make Blazing Saddles today. But Blazing Saddles is one of my top 5 all-time favorite movies. And it's hilarious, but you have to be able to take a joke. You cannot be easily offended and watch Blazing Saddles. So mention it in the comments. Tell me if you think a 14-year-old.
Politically incorrect. Politically incorrect more than perverse. It's not perverse.
No.
But there's even some
equal amount of fun making.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt. And it is in so many ways a classic. I think a 14-year-old would probably think it's more funny than a lot of adults, frankly.
I'm thinking my 14-year-old's age group is beginning to see that, hey, this hypersensitivity that a lot of older kids have had is really for the birds. Shane Gillis, who is a comedian, hosted Saturday Night Live, and he had his monologue drew a lot of controversy because he has a niece with Down syndrome, and he talked about Down syndrome, and he didn't make fun of it, but he just brought it in a new light. And and man, some people went nuts talking about, oh, this is crazy, he's going to be canceled. And a lot of people came back with, hey, he is a spokesperson for this. Like everybody should be treated the same kind of thing. And so anyway, I'm not going to get off on that. I just wonder if people think my 14-year-old should be able to watch Blazing Saddles with me. But regardless, Jimmy, so this March 8th weekend is going to be huge for football recruiting. We're all excited about that. Look, Kalen DeBoer did a great job getting Ryan Williams back on board, but he had a leg up there. And so then Noah Carter getting on board, that's great. Also had a leg up because he was going to go to Washington. So what I think we all want to do is see Kalen DeBoer get his first guy from scratch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Really happen. Yeah. Particularly, how about a non-Washington guy? I mean, somebody that they weren't really recruiting before. This is the time of year I'm intrigued by the in-state group. Normally, because, I like, to me, it's a separate thing. I'm really into recruiting, which means, number one, I'm really into the University of Alabama's recruiting efforts. That's number one. But number two, I enjoy in-state, who's really good in Alabama. And I get interested in what's going to happen with their recruitments, even if it doesn't have anything to do with the university. But so right now, I'm really focused on those in-state guys. I think it'd be great for Kalen DeBoer to pick up. I mentioned his name already. How about Derek Smith from Selma? I mean, he's not a 5-star, but he is a national elite prospect. He can play
And
wide
Auburn
receiver.
wants him badly.
Auburn wants him very badly. This is the subject of and Auburn, Alabama, and Auburn wouldn't be the only SEC schools. This guy's going to be a take probably anywhere. I would say certainly the LSU, Tennessee, crew. I mean, Oklahoma, that we can now mention as an SEC school. I could get maybe Georgia and Texas thinking that they're going to get better kids. Maybe they'd pass. I doubt it. But Derek Smith is really, really good. And again, this is somebody they weren't recruiting at Washington. This is somebody that wasn't already committed to the Saban staff. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure he had a Saban offer. But that's a name that would be great. And in terms of when these kids might start committing, there's going to be a junior day in March. All these visits are happening in March. We can't rule that out. But basically what I see, Luke, is it being pretty quiet on the commitment front until this summer, at which time there would be an absolute flood. I wouldn't, if we're going to define the summer as starting May 1st and ending August 31st, I'm kind of expecting to get all of the 2025 guys in that time period. Maybe
Oh my God.
Maybe all of them. It's just a product of the new calendar.
That is just the new calendar. All right. We've held off long enough. It's going to be time to talk about what happened in Lexington Saturday. If this thing will ever come up. Okay. This podcast is now on Amazon, and I probably just ruined Amazon with whatever I just did, but that's okay. Bezos has got enough money. He's got half the money he used to have, but he's got enough money.
I might be getting Amazon Prime soon. Do you have Amazon Prime?
I do.
I mean, Prime Video. What I mean by that is Prime Video.
I have Prime Video. Yeah, when you have Prime, I think you get Prime Video.
Exactly, and that's so. I think we're jumping into the 21st century there. Is it good? Is there good stuff on Prime Video?
I don't watch a ton of it, but they do have this show called Invincible, which is sort of like a superhero thing, but much more graphic. And
superhero. It's like R-rated superhero stuff.
Kind of
like Deadpool. Yeah, how would you compare it to Deadpool?
Worse than Deadpool, like more graphic.
Because Deadpool's a rated R superhero movie for sure. But
Invincible is like, man, they do some stuff that's kind of nutty, but it's an awesome series. And so it's coming back out. I think middle of March. So highly recommend everybody checking that out. But something you don't want to check out is the replay of Alabama, Kentucky.
Probably not on Prime Video.
No, it won't be on subprime video. So look, Jimmy, bottom line, that we now have enough sample size to know something. When Alabama plays a pretty good to really good team on the road, right, this year we're probably getting our brains beat in. Now,
we're going to give up a lot of points.
If we play somebody else, if we play an LSU, if we play a Vandy, if we play hopefully an Ole Miss, if we play a Mississippi State, we play one of those teams, we can make it happen. And especially I think we can against Mississippi Wednesday night, because I'm assuming they're going to be without Alan Flanagan, because if people were mad at Muhammad Wagee for his little forearm shiver, what Flanagan did was much worse. So I'm assuming he's going to be suspended. That ought to help Alabama out a little bit. But regardless, look, I said this in a tweet that, hey, 20 points, 2 points, 1 point, 100 points. In the end, Alabama's still going to make the tournament. This does affect seeding a little bit, but we're also still in the lead to the SEC. This is one game. Flush it and be done. And yeah, there's some reason for concern. We've lost by more than 20 to Tennessee, Auburn, and Kentucky on the road now. That is reason for concern. But let me give you a little bit of a bright side. We're not going to play anybody like that on the road in the tournament. So, yes, it's going to be different. We might play a good team, but they'll be in a more of a neutral site. And we've seen that we hold our own in neutral sites. Yes, we lost to Creighton, but we played them there. Yes, we lost to Arizona. We essentially played them there. We practically did. And yes, we lost to Purdue, but we played them in Zach Edey's hometown. So, I mean, it was more of a Purdue type crowd. So I feel really good still about this team. I'm hoping, as I said, if some people are like, maybe there's a wake-up call. I'm like, oh, this wasn't a wake-up call. This was somebody coming in, banging 2 garbage can tops together and going, get up at 4:00 in the morning after you're hungover. That's what this was. And here's the other thing. Kentucky's as talented as anybody in the country. They just hadn't put it together. They needed to play in Alabama that doesn't play great defense. We knew this, and that runs a style that allows them to be pretty free-flowing. On top of that, as one of the friends of the program has pointed out, that it wasn't so much the defense, even though it was bad. Obviously, you give 117 points, that's bad defense. But I think our turnovers are a big problem too. And a lot of those are unforced. I mean, we make some really bad passes sometimes. And that's not going to change. We've got to accept this. We're almost to March. This is what this team is. But I still feel good about them. I still feel like this is a team that can win the SEC. Ole Miss is the most important game of the season now. Beat Ole Miss, and you do what you've been doing at home, you're going to win the SEC.
That's right. I mean, you are what you are at this point. I mean, we're not going to wake up in Oxford and then all of a sudden be one of the best defensive teams in the SEC. That ship has sailed. This is who they are. And to me, it's personnel. It's not all effort. Now, I do think some of it's effort. Nate Oates will tell you that. Some of it is, but most of it is the fact that if you ask a basketball expert who knows the personnel on our team really well, who is a plus defender, who is an above average SEC defensive basketball player, you'll get like one guy, Rylan Griffin. That's it. I mean, Nate Oates himself has said Mark Sears needs to get much better on defense. Estrada's not great on defense. They both get beat to the hole all the time. Grant Nelson just does not match up well against a lot of big-bodied bangers inside. Pringle's not a great defensive player. He's just helpful at some things. It's just not a great defensive team. I think this is what happens when every year you have a new roster and you're dealt a new hand, and because anyone that blames us on Nate Oates is simply can't remember beyond the last game Alabama played. Alabama was extremely good on defense a year ago, 4th in the nation, by the way, in defensive efficiency, 3rd in KenPom on defense. And then that Herb Jones team, when Herb was a senior,
they were sick.
Is one of the great defensive teams in Alabama history.
And if we have Bediako back, I think our defense is a lot better. We need a rim protector who doesn't foul every time they walk on the court.
Well, he'd be a plus defender, just like Griffin. Look, now you got a second guy who's a plus defender in this league, and you just don't have that. So, next year there's probably going to be 13 new guys because that's what we have today in college basketball. Next year's team might be great on defense, but they couldn't score 100 points if you gave them 80 minutes and they were playing against ops girls team. I was trying to come up with somebody real bad.
You were shooting so hard for a good analogy.
I wanted to say something about Loyola, Chicago, and the Nuns. That's where I was trying to go with that, but nothing worked in my head. So I went with the op girls team. What the? I couldn't come up with anybody who would be really bad defensively against an SEC men's basketball team.
We just lost all our listeners in op.
When they're like, oh, we have a great op girls team. I'm like, yeah, I just said they couldn't defend an SEC college men's team. That's not much.
I'll say this. This is something that is mildly concerning to me. And I love me some Mark Sears. I want him to come back next year. I want him to come back badly because I think he could be literally like a legend. There is sometimes it seems like he spaces out on the leadership side. I think he can be a leader. His play is leadership worthy. I want to see his attitude more leadership worthy in terms of defensive effort. And that's something Oates has brought up in press conference. Oates has called him out specifically a few times because I think the team goes as Sears goes.
That makes sense. Makes sense. I think, but hey, this is a good basketball team. It's ridiculous. Anybody that makes too much of what happened in Kentucky is just simply not paying attention to what happened in the 13 SEC games prior. It's tough to win on the road. We've said it, at one point this season. The AP top 10 collectively had a losing record on the road against anyone. It's hard to win on the road. Now play on the road against somebody that's really good, that has multiple lottery picks, okay? And now play somebody on the road who's not only really good, but they're playing their best game of the year. I mean, yeah, you're going to get blown out. And that's what happened. And people read too much into it. I think what people need to do is at the end of 18 SEC games, add it all up and see where, and if Alabama falls number one, if you want to hear Jimmy rant, and here I am referring to myself in the third person, so you know this is serious.
Jimmy's getting upset.
Jimmy's getting upset already. If you want to hear Jimmy rant, all I need to hear is this half of a sentence after 4 more games. Yeah, they won the SEC, but there's no but.
Yeah, there's
no but.
You're the
There's
but.
no but. You are the but if you think there's a but.
Two teams.
Yeah, they won the SEC. Something, by the way, that Alabama had done like 7 times ever in school history before Nate Oates got here. And now we're just going to pretend like, yeah, we won the SEC, but we're flawed. What kind of planet are people living in where they expect the team to not only win the SEC, but be historically great? I mean, you are historically great at Alabama if you win the SEC, period. Especially these days. It's super competitive. I mean, 8 teams are going to make the tournament. The SEC, I believe, is considered by most to be the second best conference behind the Big 12. And they are behind the Big 12. It's not the Big 12, but the SEC is a great league, a lot of great teams. And winning the SEC is a big accomplishment. Even coming close is a big accomplishment. And we're going to find out this week, Luke, because you got a road game that you can win and a very tough home game. But 2-0 this week, 2-0 this week might do it. Maybe.
2-0 this week, and I think it does do. I mean, assuming you don't lay an egg against Arkansas, you're going to lose to Florida. Look, Luke's lock of the week for the year is whatever Florida is, take them against Alabama.
Yeah,
that's my lock of the
it comes down to Tennessee
year for the week or whatever.
To me, it comes down to Tennessee. I think Alabama's going to be I think Alabama's going to beat Ole Miss Wednesday on the road, and I think Alabama's going to beat Arkansas at the end, and I think Alabama's going to lose to Florida in Gainesville. And to me, it's that Tennessee game. Beat Tennessee, and you've won the SEC. Lose to Tennessee, and at best, there's probably going to be some level of a tie at best. But to me, it comes down to Tennessee.
Still fine? It's still
Tennessee.
good?
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. Tennessee's a tough matchup for Alabama. Again, it's about dudes, right? And I got asked this morning, what's a tougher game, Ole Miss on the road or Tennessee at home? I think, a lot of people are going to say the road game, and I get it 100%. But, hey, I'm always talking about dudes, right? Tennessee's got dudes that Ole Miss doesn't have, particularly with Adam Flanagan probably out.
All right, so
it's probably the coach of that op girls team.
My phone ringing tells me it's time to go. So until next time, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.